Hi there, and welcome to the Gazette's Hockey Inside Out Show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette, and I'm joined this week by former Canadiens defenseman, assistant coach, and 1986 Stanley Cup champion Rick Green, along with my Gazette colleague and longtime friend Jack Todd, who's filling in this week for Chris Nyland. Rick, the Canadiens blown out 6-1 by the Blues in St. Louis Tuesday night. What was your biggest concern after watching that game as this team continues to fight for a playoff spot?
Well, watching the way St. Louis cycled the puck, and I've said this before over the course of the year, any team that's up against Montreal and plays the type of system, without taking away, they did have some success until last night. A lot of confusion, I thought, as far as coverages go, and they worked them pretty hard in the defensive zone where they just a lot of guys were running around. And the bottom line out of all this, no matter how you talk about it, goaltending. If you can't get that, the chances of winning and having any kind of success are not that great. And Montembeault, wishes he had a number of those goals back, and that puts you down, takes momentum, takes a lot of negativity on the bench when you see things like that happening. So one of those games, they're still in a position that they can find a way to get it going again, and they know they have to.
Jack, what was your concern? And were you surprised that looks like Marty St. Louis is going to ride Sam Montembeault?
I was surprised they didn't play Dobish in Long Island. That, to me, was the game that should have been his game. I guess they've decided this is the guy, but I don't want to be down on Montembeault, but at the same time, I'm not a huge fan. He's not Carey Price. I don't think he can't start game after game after game in the midst of a critical playoff run and give you the kind of play you sometimes get from him. He actually started well last night. I thought the first 11 shots or so.
Oh, he kept them in, yeah.
Yeah, the killer was obviously the goal with 5 seconds left after Suzuki's tied it. You turn right around and give it back to them before intermission. But Montembeault all night long. Matheson had a tough night. Almost everybody had a tough night except Suzuki and Lane Hutson, who just seems to keep doing it. But it was brutal to watch, and I would be very surprised if Dobish doesn't start in Philadelphia.
That Matheson-Carrier partnership there, Rick, they seem to struggle a little bit too against it. You say the Blues, since Jimmy Montgomery took over there, they've just been rolling.
Yeah, they're tough to play against, and they've been playing really well lately, and they got good size, they got good speed, and they go at you, and it caused a lot of problems for a lot of the Canadian players because they weren't able to contain and win a lot of the one-on-one battles, and it ended up with turnovers, and it ended up with puck possession by St. Louis that resulted in scoring chances and goals. And moving forward, the Canadiens know very well that they have to be at their very best in all areas. And the bottom line out of all this is making sure that you're ready to battle and win more battles than lose. And that was the case last night. They just weren't able to compete, and St. Louis just kept pouring it on and, showed why they hadn't lost in 6 games before.
Jack, you're talking about Montembeault there. I think he's a good number one goalie. He's not a great number one goalie, and you're right. I think he wears down after a while. And then with Binnington, Rick, in St. Louis, he's like a third defenseman out there, right? The guys would dump the puck in, he'd play it, set it up, move it out. As a former defenseman, just how big of a help is it having someone like that back there in goal?
Well, it's huge because they're mobile and they're really composed in their decisions with the puck, but just like another defenseman, and they feed off each other back there, and he's good at it. And you can see when he did get possession of the puck, the defenseman knew where to go and went to a spot, and he was able to make those right passes or clearing shots around the boards, and that's a real asset. I mean, you look at Brodeur back in his day, one of the best at it. And, I always said it was the defenseman's best friend because mean less skating for us.
Jack, I mean, that's 3 straight losses, although the Canadiens did pick up 2 loser points in those games.
Yeah.
Even after the loss in St. Louis, they were still holding the second wildcard playoff spot. 1 point ahead of the Islanders and Rangers, 2 points ahead of Columbus. 3 more games coming up on the road this week: Philadelphia, Carolina, Florida. Can the Habs hold on and actually make the playoffs this season?
I think they can hold on. What worries me now is that they look a little gassed. And, this is what happened before, and that the lead up to the break there, when they just looked like they just didn't quite have the energy. The other thing that would be a concern to me if I was Marty St. Louis is they're starting really slowly. They've had some brutal first periods against both Colorado and last night in St. Louis. Colorado
Totally dominated.
And then, they got down 4-1 against St. Louis. They finally started playing, but it was too late against Bennington and a team like that. Mm-hmm. I find that a little funny because this is a very together team. They're young. They have a very high spirit. Like, why are you coming out so flat? And Rick would know this better than me. It made me wonder if they shouldn't go back to the morning skate because they seem to show up a little not quite ready to roll. I don't know if it has anything to do with the skate, but they need to start better than that, and they need this win in Philadelphia big time. Philadelphia's been giving up a touchdown a game, and if you can't beat them, it gets tough.
How do you explain the slow starts then, Rick? Do you think the morning skates might have something to do with it?
Again, Jack mentioned about the morning skate, no morning skate. At this time of year, it's really it's a tough call on how you handle your group. And I think, do they need more rest? Do they need more mental stuff? These guys are under the gun. They know what's at stake. So there's a lot of pressure riding on each and every one of those guys. But, the main thing is finding a way for them to be their best. And they haven't started that well. Why is that? Not really sure. They know what they have to do. They've shown it in the past, but they haven't responded in the same way. But the last 14 games, 8-2-4, they were having a pretty good run. There's nothing to say that they can't find a way to get that game back, and they have something very, very big to play for, and they're all aware of it. We've seen it in the past, so let's see where this goes on this trip and starting in Philadelphia.
Yeah, they're almost due for a stinker, and we got it. Rick, do you think they can still make the playoffs? Do you see them getting in?
Well, it's all relative, obviously, to some of the other teams, how they perform. They can only do their thing and try and win every game, but they have to have some bounces, some breaks on the other side where it's not a great situation where you have to rely on other teams to make it happen for you. But they're well aware that they need to win. They got to keep winning, and they're going to have to put out a better performance than what they did, obviously, against St. Louis.
Yeah, those decisions on whether they have morning skates or practice or not, Marty doesn't make those alone. He said he talks with the Suzuki and sort of the leadership group to decide what's best. And I know they'll have an activation session, they call it, at the hotel in the morning on game days when they're on the road to get themselves going. I thought it was kind of funny, Jack, that they basically had to order Lane Hutson not to go on the ice Sunday in Brossard on a day off. The kid, he doesn't know. So what did you do on your day off? He said it was boring. This kid he just wants to play hockey. And it's so refreshing, I find.
Oh, he just slays me. If you don't enjoy watching this kid, go follow field hockey or something, because this is as good as it gets. I love it every minute he's on the ice.
Yeah. Well, the other question, Jack, now with Caden Gooley, it looks like he's close to coming back, practicing with the team with a full contact shirt. He's on this road trip. He definitely gives his team a boost if for when he does come back, and it looks like he will come back sooner rather than later. Who sits out when he comes in?
Oh, my guess would be Savard. He's, I know he skates like Matheson, but there are nights when it seems like he's a bit slow for the game. And it did last night, although to be fair, he wasn't the problem. The best skater other than Hutson on the blue line was the problem in Matheson. But I would expect it to be Savard as good a leader as he is. Maybe they alternate Savard and Struble, something like that. But
my thing with Savard, I wonder because he's so key on the penalty kill. If they keep him there. Now, Rick, you've been the assistant coach for the Canadiens in charge of the defense. What call do you make here?
Well, it's a tough one, and the penalty killing, and Savard is obviously very effective with that big body getting in the way and stuff. But the way Struble is playing, I have a really hard time to pull him out of the lineup. I don't think he's deserving of coming out of the lineup. And, Savard, I think, would be the one that I would maybe get him to take a step back, let Gouli get in there, get some fresh young legs, let them do their thing. And, you can always, as the schedule allows, put Savard back in at any given point. But tough call. And, when things are going well, you don't want to change anything in your lineup, and especially back there on the blue line, aside from last night. But, they're in a good situation where they do have some depth where guys can come in and some guys can come out.
I think it's going to come down to between Struble and Xhekaj. I'd be surprised if – I understand why Savard would be a pick to sit out, but I don't know if Marty's going to go that route with the veteran. If it comes down to Struble and Xhekaj, Jack, what do you do there?
Yeah, it's a tough call. If it was the old Philadelphia, I know which one I would be running out there. But I guess that isn't as big a problem. I think Xhekaj's fought his last two games, which I actually really don't like to see because he plays well when he plays. But, I guess he would be on the bubble as well. Xhekaj, I think, could use a break, now and then. He's played a lot of hockey and played well, but maybe somehow with Gouli returning, you can rotate these guys, get everybody fresh. I'm glad it's not my decision.
It's a nice problem to have, though, I guess, Rick. And it just shows you the depth the Canadiens have now. When you think it wasn't that long ago when Victor Mete was the top pairing defenseman with Shea Weber. And Victor Mete is out of hockey now. I only think he's playing in the American Hockey League. And I think it's that depth on defense, Rick, especially, you've been in that role as assistant coach. It's a nice problem to have, right?
Yeah, and like I said, they're always the smartest guys on your team. So, you can take full advantage of those kind of guys because they're good players. They make everything happen back there, and they're in a really good situation to have that type of depth where they can. And injuries are going to come into the picture, and they're able to bring some guys out of the stands that are able to fill that void. For hopefully just a short period of time.
Marty St. Louis was asked at his press conference Monday, who's going to sit out? And he wouldn't answer it. He said, why would I answer that now? It's just exactly. Injuries can happen. He said, day to day, take it day to day, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Jack, during this, apart from that loss to St. Louis, but the run this team has been on since the Four Nations face-off break, which was really impressive. What's impressed you most? I mean, that third line, that veteran line with Christian Dvorak, Brendan Gallagher, and Josh Anderson, especially Christian Dvorak. I mean, he's picked up his play. What's impressed you most about those three guys?
Well, Josh Anderson's what's impressed me the most. I find it really fascinating. And I think St. Louis gets some of the credit for it. Like he got a lot of credit for turning Cole Caulfield's game around. Not so much for repositioning Anderson or persuading him to reposition himself, because it was always so frustrating. He was always a guy who could bust into the zone and then nothing would come of it, Now he's just so useful in so many ways. It gives you a second big body guy out there who can really fight. He uses his speed. He hits. He crashes. I'm really impressed with him. And Dvorak, I guess, would be next just because where has this guy been? It was a controversial thing, the way he was acquired, the whole mess with Sebastian Aho and KK and all that stuff. And finally, it came down to Dvorak being here for a long time. And honestly, in any time I was thinking of the club, he would be the very last guy that would come to mind. And he's injected himself in the middle. I don't think they're where they are today if he isn't playing that way since they started that good run back before early December, I think it was. He was a key part of it. And then obviously Gallagher, I can remember everybody saying before the last season began, he's finished, he can't keep up, he's 20 feet behind the play. Well, a lot of nights he's leading the play, and he's the guy standing in front still. I'd like to count how many cross-checks that guy's taking in front of the net.
And never penalized, right? He's a piñata out there. What the beating he takes is remarkable.
I know like Rick Green pounding on him. And,
Rick, your favorite line is never trust the forward, but these three veteran guys together look like it's a line that if you were playing defense with them, you could trust them.
Yeah, they're really on a mission right now. You can see it in their their determination, and they complement each other in every part of the game. And I'm really happy for them. I'm really quite surprised because I was disappointed with what we were seeing with Dvorak, and then all of a sudden he's for whatever reason he's fired up and ready. And I think it's probably a combination of the success as a group. Pulling all the same way, and everybody wants to be part of that. And they sense good things potentially happening for them. And this line is really, really effective in bringing their A game each and every shift, and really enjoyable to watch. Anderson on a mission, really, really doing a great job, and really happy to see him responding the way he has. I think he's kind of found what kind of game he needs to play, and he's bringing it each shift and each night. And a huge bonus to have those guys. And Gallagher, what can we say? His heart is so large. He just continues to scratch and claw and hack and do whatever he can to allow his team a chance to win. And great to see, and really happy for that group as a line that did have their struggles last year, earlier on this year, and now they got it going.
Yeah, Gallagher playing those 5 games after his mother passed away without making it public also, and then scoring that big goal against the Islanders also. And I think one thing that's helped this line, Marty St. Louis has different concepts, and like he sees the game differently, and he's tried to sort of change the way Gallagher plays a bit and change the way Anderson plays a little bit since he came here. But putting those 3 guys together, they play a north-south game, a simple north-south game. I think the 3 of them together being allowed to sort of play that style has really helped with the way they're going. And, Josh Anderson, playing through injuries and not practicing, coming out, and he's like a wrecking ball out there. Jack, at the end of the year, they have the Jacques Beauchamp Trophy for the player who played a dominant role without earning any particular honor. I know Josh Anderson's going to get my vote this year. It seems to be like that award was made for a guy like that, I think.
Yeah, exactly. He would get my vote too, probably followed by Dvorak. He got so little credit the whole time he was here until now.
Yeah, and with Dvorak, he was a huge offensive player in junior, right? And then he was talking the other day about coming in, and Marty St. Louis talked about this, basically every guy in the NHL was an offensive star in junior. And then you got to find your role to play. And with him, it's been face-offs, playing solid, but he's been producing some offense. Rick, did you have to change your game much from junior to the NHL? I know you were playing for the
I couldn't. If I didn't, I wouldn't have stayed in the league. No, you just play. You play within your capabilities and try to do it to the max. And a lot of guys don't necessarily know the kind of game they need to do each and every night. And I mentioned about Anderson; he didn't know whether to run and hit guys, what exactly his role was. And it takes a little bit of time to identify that and find the groove. And I think that, like anything, experience, and obviously Martin St. Louis has talked to a number of these guys to try and direct them in a way that they can maximize the talent that they have and try to play within their limitations each and every night. And, you talk about chemistry, you talk about guys that feed off each other. And I look at the team as a group. Anticipation, working together, knowing where each other is. It's nice to see, and they're doing a pretty good job of it, and that's a good sign as a group that everybody's feeding off each other, and they're not done yet.
No, and Anderson changing his role too. I think it was a brilliant move by Marty St. Louis to put him on the PK to start the season. He had killed penalties in Columbus. And he said he spoke with Anderson before the season. He said, I'm going to use you on the PK. I'm not going to use you on the power play. And he was fine with it. He was like, okay, whatever. And I think he's really picked it up. And you're talking about, changing roles, Rick. You played with Guy Carbonneau. And there's a guy who was an offensive superstar in junior, and then totally changed his game at the NHL, became a defensive player. I mean, you must have seen other guys go through that also during your playing days.
Well, I think it's so important to realize what you do best and just make sure that you identify it and find a way to do it. And I think that's the key to having a good career, is knowing what you're able to do and you bring it and consistently find a way to put it out there each shift and each night. And I see a lot of guys that have found their way and are doing the things that they need to do to be the best they can be. And that's a good situation.
Yeah, one of Michel Therrien's favorite lines when he was coaching, he says, you got to find the chair. There's different chairs on the team, and you got to fill one of them. And Josh Anderson has certainly filled the chair that he's been asked to fill this season. Anyway, that's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back with a new show next week. You can also look for our 3 bonus episodes coming up over the next few days. It's a busy week for the Canadiens, as we mentioned. Back-to-back road games against the Flyers in Philadelphia on Thursday, the Carolina Hurricanes on Friday. Then they travel to Florida and play a Sunday afternoon game against the Panthers, a 1 p.m. start. So tough road ahead. In the meantime, please make sure you like and subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. Go to MontrealGazette.com/newsletters to sign up for the Hockey Inside Out newsletter. And of course, go to HockeyInsideOut.com, where you'll get all the latest Canadiens news every day. And please leave comments on the show in the comment section below. We always like to hear from you.